Why nobody talk about 1920 crisis? In the last century there has been a financial crisis that no one wants to talk about. Its example shows that the government should interfere in the economy as little as possible. Or perhaps history teaches us that we don't really need politicians. In the last video called The Great Depression I have mentioned the Roaring Twenties. During the Roaring Twenties, Americans owned 80% of all the cars produced in the world. People were rich, salaries were rising. But what actually caused this economic growth in the 20s? The answer is crisis. And, in fact, no reaction from the government on the crisis. Let's start from the beginning. After the First World War, many soldiers were coming back to the US, so there were many unemployed people. Loose Fed monetary policy caused a high inflation, 14%. Additionally, high income tax hasn't been helping people. The Fed didn't have a choice but to increase interest rates. Then the economy started collapsing. Unemployment rises to 11%. Stock market crashes 50%. Production falls 36%. Crazy! Businesses that avoided bankruptcy saw a 75% decline in profits. These events would suggest that politicians were preparing an economic recovery plan. But not this time. At the time, Woodrow Wilson was the President of the United States. He served from 1913 to 1921. In 1919 he had a stroke. President Wilson remained in power, but during the last 2 years of his presidency, almost no laws were passed. As a result, response of the United States government to the crisis was none. There was no rescue plan for the economy, no stimulus packages for citizens, no loans, nothing. What was the result? The whole crisis lasted only 18 months, and the economy on its own returned to the pre-crisis state, without anyone's help. If we see the stock market chart, we have V-shaped recovery. Nowadays, some may think that in a crisis, just flooding the economy with newly printed money can bring the economy back to its pre-crisis state. The crisis in the 1920s shows us that this is not quite the case. The American economy did a great job without government help. What happened next? In 1921, Warren G. Harding became the new US president. The nation was in the midst of the post-war economic decline. Unfortunately, after 2 years, the president died, while his successor, Calvin Coolidge, continued his policy. What did the new president do? He changed completely the fiscal policy of the United States, including 1. Reduction of the state budget by about 50%. 2. Reducing regulation. 3. Greater freedom for entrepreneurs. 4. Lowering taxes. Taxes were lowered gradually, and it came to a situation that in 1924, 98% of Americans did not pay taxes at all. The American economy was liberated, and so a period of prosperity began that lasted for 10 full years until the crisis of 1929, so-called Roaring Twenties. What is the moral of this story? As I mentioned at the beginning of this video, nobody wants to talk about this crisis, because this history shows us that only a free economy, lowering taxes and supporting entrepreneurs allows people to get rich and the economy to blossom. The government, on the other hand, wants you to think that it's the only a dependency on government aid that will allow you to survive and keep your jobs. Why? Because otherwise we wouldn't need politicians. Like, subscribe, comment, and see you next time. Bye!